For decades, Africa was a chessboard for global powers. France, Britain, America, the Soviets, all making moves for resources and influence. Africa itself, too often treated as the prize, not a player. But now, the game is changing. The pieces are moving on their own, and the old rules are being tossed aside. New alliances are forming at breakneck speed. The script is being rewritten, live, in 2025. This isn't a minor shuffle. It's a seismic shift. Countries once quiet are now making bold, defiant moves. They're asking, whose game is this and why aren't we making the rules? The old powers are watching and they're nervous. They're used to calling the shots, but now the agenda is being set in Bamako, Ouagadougou, Niamey, not just Paris or Washington. Africa's moment has arrived. The question is, what kind of moment will it be? The world is watching as Africa steps up. The continent is no longer content to be moved. It's making moves. The stakes? Nothing less than a new global order. The old guard is unsettled. The new players are confident. Africa is no longer on the sidelines. The billion-dollar question, what happens next? Zoom in on Burkina Faso. Suddenly, Captain Ibrahim Traoré, a young military officer, is in charge. It's not just a coup, it's a generational shift. Traoré speaks the language of sovereignty and dignity, resonating with young Africans. This isn't your grandfather's leadership. These new leaders grew up online, saw the world, and are saying, no more. Traoré, in his red beret, has become a symbol of defiance. And it's not just Burkina Faso. Mali, Niger, Guinea young officers are stepping up. They talk about Pan-Africanism and self-reliance, echoing the independence era but with new urgency. They're not asking for permission, they're taking charge. Yes, coups are risky and messy, and the West condemns them. But on the ground, many see these leaders as a break from a past that served foreign interests. The youth are demanding change, not just new faces. They want control over their own destiny. The stakes are high and the safety net is gone. The world's watching to see if this boldness brings progress or more instability. For many, it's a risk worth taking. The old order is being challenged. The new generation is rewriting the rules. The Sahel is now a stage for Africa's new assertiveness. The outcome? Still uncertain. But the message is clear. Africa's youth are done waiting. They're leading the charge. The world can't ignore them anymore. The High Wire Act continues. France's relationship with Africa? Complicated to say the least. For decades after independence, France kept a tight grip. Politically, economically, militarily. Francafrique, they called it. But for many Africans, it felt like France was still in charge. French companies got the best deals, French culture was promoted, and dissenting leaders faced pressure. Resentment simmered for generations. Then protests erupted. Big, loud, and unmistakable. People waved their own flags, sometimes even Russian ones, demanding an end to neo-colonialism. The message merci but no merci. It's time for France to go. This wasn't just a few activists, it was a popular wave. Symbols of French influence became targets. Young people, who never lived through colonialism, inherited its frustrations. They saw resource-rich countries still struggling. They started connecting the dots, pointing straight at Paris. The old ties are breaking. The demand is for real independence, not just in name. France's influence is crumbling. The new generation is leading the charge. The era of Francafrique is ending. The question now, what comes next? Africa is ready to decide for itself. The world is watching. The balance of power is shifting. The old playbook no longer works. Let's talk money. The CFA franc used by 14 African countries was historically guaranteed by France. Sounds stable, but there was a catch: huge reserves had to be kept in Paris. Critics called it a colonial relic, a tool of financial control. The debate got heated. Was this currency serving Africa or France? Many wanted their own currencies, their own economic destiny. Imagine steering your own ship, but someone else holds the rudder, and your fuel. Then there were the French military bases, supposedly for security. Over time, patience wore thin. French troops began to look less like protectors, more like occupiers. Leaders like Traoré made a bold move. French troops, time to go. Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger. One by one, they expelled French soldiers. It was a domino effect of defiance. Expelling the troops was a declaration of sovereignty. The old security blanket was gone. This was unthinkable just a few years ago. The message: Africa wants control over its money, its land, its future. The world took notice. The power dynamic shifted overnight. The era of foreign boots and foreign banks is ending. Africa is demanding a new deal. The stakes are high. The risks are real. But the will for change is stronger than ever. The continent is charting its own course. The world is watching. With France on the way out, who's stepping in? Enter Russia and China. Russia's back, not with ideology but with arms and security deals. Groups like Wagner offered military training and support, especially where the West fell short. Russia's pitch: no lectures, no meddling, just security. For leaders wanting to break free from Western conditions, that's appealing. Russia provides arms, advisors, and a narrative of partnership. It's a message that resonates with some. Then there's China, building roads, railways, ports, and more. China's involvement is massive, visible, and fast. Loans, workers, infrastructure, transforming skylines and connecting cities. For many, China delivers where others just talk. But it's not charity. China wants resources, markets, and allies. The Belt and Road Initiative is part of a grand strategy. Some worry about debt traps. Are African countries trading one master for another? It's a valid concern. But for now, many see China as a partner. The appeal: tangible development, fewer conditions. Africa is leveraging new partners to get what it needs. The old monopoly is broken. The continent is playing the field. The stakes: independence, prosperity, and global influence. The risks: new dependencies, new power struggles. The world is watching Africa's next move. The game is wide open. The players are changing. Africa is choosing its partners. The future is up for grabs. Enter BRICS. Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and new members. This club of emerging economies is challenging the old global order. BRICS offers Africa an alternative to Western-dominated institutions like the IMF and World Bank. For decades, Western loans came with strings attached. Policy changes, structural adjustments. Many African countries felt these conditions didn't fit their needs. BRICS is building its own institutions, like the New Development Bank, with potentially fewer strings. There's talk of a BRICS Africa corridor, a new network for trade and investment. This could mean new markets, new investment, and more bargaining power for Africa. It's about options, more choices, more leverage. It's not just economics, it's political alignment. BRICS and many African nations share a vision for a multipolar world. They're tired of being caught in big power rivalries. Aligning with BRICS could give Africa a stronger collective voice. It's a chance to set its own agenda. The old routes are being bypassed, the new bridges are being built. Africa is no longer just a recipient, it's a partner. The global balance is shifting, the world is taking notice. Africa's options are expanding. The power to choose is real. The future is being negotiated now. The stakes are high. Africa is ready to play. How's the West reacting? Not quietly. Their influence is slipping and they're worried. Sanctions are their go-to tool, hitting countries, leaders, economies. The message: change your ways or face consequences. But sanctions don't always work. They can push countries toward new allies. Intelligence agencies are working overtime, tracking new deals and alliances. Who's talking to Russia? What's China planning? The West wants answers. It's a shadowy game of cat and mouse. Financial institutions like the IMF and World Bank are sounding alarms, warning about debt, instability, and risky partnerships. Their reports influence investors and credit ratings, a subtler form of pressure. The West is trying to manage the shift, protect its interests, and maintain control. But it's like holding water in your hands. The old grip is slipping. Africa's new moves are forcing a rethink. The global order is in flux. The stakes are high for everyone. The West can't dictate terms anymore. The competition is fierce. The outcome is uncertain. The world is watching. Africa is at the center of the storm. The rules are changing. The future is unwritten. This transformation isn't just about politics or resources, it's about identity. Africa is undergoing a spiritual awakening, reclaiming its narrative. For too long, others wrote Africa's story: poverty, conflict, helplessness. Now, Africans are rewriting it with their own words and dreams. There's renewed interest in pre-colonial history, traditions, and languages. It's about decolonizing minds, not just borders. Young Africans are asking, who are we really? This search for identity fuels the demand for true independence, on paper and in spirit. Leaders like Traore tap into this yearning for dignity and respect. Sovereignty isn't just a slogan, it's an emotional, almost spiritual demand. The shift in alliances is more than geopolitics, it's an expression of awakening. Africa is finding its own voice after centuries of being told what to do. The continent is determined to decide for itself. Mistakes will be made, lessons learned, but they'll be Africa's own. The world must listen. The old narratives are fading. A new story is being written. Africa's soul-searching is reshaping its future. The journey is just beginning. The stakes are profound. The world is watching Africa's rebirth. What does all this mean for the world? The global order is tilting. Africa is moving from the periphery to the center, no longer a passive object but an active shaper of its destiny. This shift challenges old power structures and forces everyone to rethink assumptions. Western nations must compete for influence and partnership, not dictate terms. This could mean more balanced relationships, or more tension. Africa's role in global issues, climate, pandemics, security, is critical. With its young population and vast resources, Africa is a key player in 21st century solutions. The stakes are high. A more empowered Africa could be a force for good, or a source of instability if things go wrong. Ultimately, this is a story of self-determination, a continent taking control of its narrative. It's messy, complex, and risky, but also full of hope. What we're witnessing is not just a power shift, but the re-emergence of a continent. Africa is finding its voice, demanding its place at the table. The question isn't if Africa will change the world, but how. Are we ready for it? Because it's happening, now. The world must adapt. Africa's future is the world's future. The next chapter is being written today.